Hey guys, welcome back to Larry's Garage. I know it's been a bit. Let's go over what I've got done, and then we're gonna talk front rack and pinion. Things I've got done lately is, let's see, got battery cables in and ran. Got the fuel line in and ran. Fuel regulator mounted. Got the block evacuation system put on. Now we'll talk about that for a second. These block evacuation systems, Mr. Gasket, crankcase evacuation system. What they're going to tell you is they do not work on anything but with anything with a full exhaust, only open headers. And they're not lying, but they're not telling the whole story either. What it comes with, instead of these breather caps, and a piece for your to go into your at a 45-degree angle and do welded into your open headers, and the exhaust gas is passing through, causes a Venturi effect, and causes a vacuum which evacuates the block crankcase pressure out of the crankcase and blows it out the exhaust. Now, on a streetcar pre-1975, it's still legal. 75 or newer, it's against emissions. If you wouldn't pass emissions doing that, the EPA wouldn't like it. This is a drag truck. It doesn't matter. It's just a drag truck. All right. We did get the motor set back where I wanted it. I do need to get a piece of fuel line to go from here up to the footer to go to each bowl of carburetor. Anyway, this back to the evacuation system. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyway, this evacuation system has these. What I did is I bought a roll of 5/8 aluminum tubing. You run from here to a heater hose to a piece of aluminum tubing. The aluminum tubing, I ran it down the frame, down to the firewall to the frame, and run it along the frame. And yep, I got mufflers there. And it runs down the frame, comes through, hooks to a piece of the fuel line, and hooks to the part that comes with the kit. And I put it in the tips of the exhaust behind the mufflers. Now, they told the truth. If you put it in front of the mufflers on a closed system exhaust, you will get back pressure into your block. It does no good. Putting it behind the mufflers in the tips, there is no back pressure there. The exhaust will be blowing through there, which will cause the same Venturi effect there as it would on an open set of headers, and it will pull the block pressure out of the block. You have different options. You could run just breather caps on your drag car, older car, and you'll end up with block pressure causes oil leaks. Evacuating is the best way, and you free up horsepower by getting rid of the block pressure. Now, what they say works best is a vacuum pump. I think they're like $1,000, and I've seen guys use older emissions control vacuum pumps and put them on their motors to pull the crankcase pressure out. They say they'll work. This is just for a couple $100. This system does what I need it to. I don't want oil leaks at the drag strip. Now, if you have a motor that's got quite a bit of blow-by, or you're using nitrous, or you're using boost, you'll want to put a catch can on it. I don't have a catch can on this one, but if I ever start to find oil residue in the tubes going back, then I will put a catch can in it. All right, now back to the front. This sucks front suspension. I went ahead and hung the front suspension back on this just so I could talk about this. I had discussed before in a prior video that the way these work, you have your upper control arm mount, your lower control arm mount, And on your drag link, you'll have an inner tie rod end mount, and those will be in line on both sides when the wheel is straight, which will look like this. There's your upper, lower, lower, and then that drag link will be somewhere in here. The inner tie rod end mounts on it will be like this, so they're in line on each side. That's so that when your front end goes up and down, all these move at the same plane, holding the front end in line. Now when you have the drag link going through here, you'll have, from the factory, you'll have tie rod ends here and here. And what you're looking for is for this to be a straight line all the way across. That's what you're looking for. What happens when we lower these Dodge trucks, because we know, drop spindles aren't a thing for it, nobody's making a good drop spindle kit for it. Well, that lowers the tie rod ends. Then you end up going uphill, and what that causes is when you get it lined at that height, these will no longer move together, the three of them, and it will cause bump steer. Now what a lot of guys are doing to eliminate this bump steer is they'll take they'll take the tie rod in, they will take it out, they will take a 7-degree ream, which is what this is. They will put it in from the bottom side. They will ream halfway through, and they'll flip the tie rod in and put it back in, which in turn will flatten this back out. Now what happens when you do that, one of the side effects of that is your original radius bars that went forward right here, this tie rod end will get in the way and they'll start hitting the tie rod ends. That's one of the reasons for my radius bar kit that I built. That's one of the reasons. So that'd be a problem you'll have. Now what I'm doing, now that we discussed what you change on these to make them work if you're planning on keeping the original steering. Now what I'm doing is I put the things I had to look for when I went looking for a rack. First thing I needed to find was a rack and pinion that was readily available. When I say readily available, I had people say, oh yeah, you can use one off of a Dodge Dakota such and such year. Maybe. How readily available is it? Can I go to the aftermarket and buy it anytime I want to? I had somebody tell me a 99 Astro van or something was the right length of tie rod to tie rod. Is it the right length inner tie rod end to inner tie rod end? I don't know. How available is it? Well, I checked. It ain't. It's not easy to get one in the aftermarket. And being this is my drag truck, and who knows, I could get loose, I could bump the wall, tear up something in the rack, need to replace it. So I need to have the parts that are readily available. So what I'm using, that's a 1971 Ford Pinto rack and pinion. You think, oh, 71, why is it so available? Because it's popular in the drag race world. It's used a lot in the drag race world. If you're talking, so the second criteria I needed wasn't availability, it was length from inner tie rod end pivot point to inner tie rod end pivot point. Okay, this, if I remember right, and I'm guessing because I don't remember for sure, I think on this from inner tie rod end pivot point to inner tie rod end pivot point. If I remember right, it was 23 3/4 of an inch. That's something close to that. I can't remember exactly for sure right now. This pinto rack, the inner tie rod end, you can feel them, they're right inside the boot here on each side, is 24 inches inner tie rod end to inner tie rod end pivot point. So it's within 1/4 of an inch. Now what that means is I may have to move it up just a little bit to get the pivot points to line up. I have to move it up in the chassis. For me, that's not a problem. Now, I'm not saying it wouldn't be for if you have a stock motor. I do not have a stock motor in this truck, and if you look, I have tons of clearance between the oil pan and the crossover. So yeah, I have room for that. Now, that's the second criteria I needed to fit. So this one works out real good for me. Available, got the right length. So now the next thing was tie rod ends. Well, I need tie rod ends that will fit the Dodge spindle and fit, mount to this rack. So what I did, I used the Ford Pinto inner tie rod ends, and their original thread pattern was 1/2 by 20. Well, I cut them off, and the shaft coming out is a 9/16 shaft. And what I did was I drilled a piece of steel, press fit, and we press fitted on the inner tie rod ends of the Pinto rack. And then we turned a piece of steel out, turned it down where it was the same size, pressed it in from the other side, and threaded it. If I remember right, this is 16 by 1.5 or 1.2 threads. And then the tie rod ends we're using are 2019 Ram 1500 tie rod ends. Oh. But yeah, and that's what we did for the tie rod ends. So it took to make it all work together. Now, if I was doing this as a kit, I would remachine and make it where these thread onto these. But this is for me. You know, if something happens, I'll build another set of tie rod ends. You know, so that makes everything available in the aftermarket. All right, now we'll get into finding the center of the frame. What we're going to do now is find the center of the frame. So what we've done, we clamped a piece of steel here, piece of steel here. We'll get a measurement. Across. It's 30 1/4. All right. So we're going to go 15 1/8. Check it this way. 15 1/8. That's center. Let's check it a little higher. Go a little higher and mark it. Makes sense. Well, All right. The center of our frame. Now, a long time ago, I marked center of the rack. You know, if you can see it. Here, I'll remark it. Remark it so you guys can see it better. There. Sorry about that. Trying to do everything one-handed. Allergies are killing me, guys. Allergies are killing me. Let me get this apart. Now that we got the center line found, we know where the center is going to be. Next thing we have to figure is how high it needs to be mounted. I can't stress this enough. We've discussed several times, you know, when you're talking about your drag link and your tie rod ends. But the most important thing is the original drag link. It sets here, and it was 23 3/4 of an inch long. All right, I needed to know because the from pivot point to pivot point on the rack and pinion I'm using is 24. I needed to know how much I needed to raise this to where the pivot point lined up in this imaginary line from the top control arm mounting bolt on the frame to the bottom control arm mounting bolt on the frame. It had to be in that line on each side. Now there was multiple ways of doing this. If you have a CAD system, you could put the numbers in at 32 degrees, 32 degrees, and you could figure it out with the CAD. You could do some algebra with, oh heck, I'm trying to think what it's called. Anyway, with the accused triangles, I can't remember right now. Mine ain't working that good right this second. Or you could do it one other way like I did. I set my degree finder at 32 degrees. I went to my workbench with a nice straight edge, and I measured 23 3/4, marked it, 23 3/4, marked it, put my degree finder on 32 degrees, made a line here, made a line here, right off the edge of the table, and then I took my straight edge or my yardstick, straight edge, and I went up until I found where 24 inches would hit here and here and would be the exact same measurement from the edge of the table up. Now, we actually did all three. We did all three. We put it on my buddy's CAD system. Dave did the geometry for it, and I did it my way, just because we wanted to see where it would come out. And now the other two come out with, you know, 0.24, and mine come out at 1/4 inch, 0.25, close enough. 1/4 inch would be close enough. So what I got to do is I got to take this rack back off, put the steering box and the idler arm on, and put the drag link back on. And we know this thing's sitting at this height, it's not going to move. So we're going to measure off the floor at each side and find out where the center, from the floor up, where the center of the drag link is. And we'll write down that measurement. And we'll do that right now, and then we'll come back and we will discuss how to find the center of the get the center of the drag link, move it up 1/4 of an inch, then we got to figure out how to make the mounts. All right, it's installed back in. Let's get down here and see what we can do. Here we go. You can see, get a right angle. You see the top bolt, that bolt, and the bottom bolt all in line. I get it right, just the right spot. All right. So what we need to see now is what the measurement is. Center. That's kind of interesting. As you see, that bar sits at a bit of an angle, which is actually going to change where the center point is. So what I almost need to be able to do is look straight through that hole and find the center of my tape. That'll get us close. I think I got an idea on how to do that. Guys, this is just guys, this is just problem solving. I mean, you're trying to get it close. We want it to be lined good enough. It drives straight. It don't wear tires. Safe to drive. A lot of it's problem solving. You just have to figure it out. There's no instruction manual on how to do this. This is something that I decided I wanted to do. It's kind of like the radius bars. I thought they would work, so I designed them. They work. Same thing here. Nothing different. I believe this rack will work. I know from doing so much front end alignment work over the years, the principles of how the front end works. Like I've said before, I'm a master automotive technician, master truck technician. Been doing this forever. So, yeah, this is just one of the things you have to go through before you get it figured out. What we're going to do here is, if I'm not wrong, center of that ball is about 3/4 inches behind the drag link. So we're going to stick the tape in here to the floor. I'm going to go straight back through that hole. Mark the tape. Try it on the other side, see if it doesn't work, if it comes out the same. Oh, get out of my way. Yep. All right. Doing that, I know now that, well, better not touch with them. I want permanent marks on my whiteboard. From right here down to the ground level. Gotta load it when you leave lids off markers. Down to ground level is 11 5/8 of an inch to the center of this. So I know now when I put in the rack with it centered here, I need to be 11 5/8. Going to go up 1/4 of an inch. So that would make it 11 7/8. So we need to go from the ground 11 7/8 with that rack centered. That'll be the point where all this, the upper, the lower, and everything will line up. And what that'll do, that makes all this, the upper, the tie rod, and the lower, move at the same plane. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're from here to the tie rod end, you want it level as possible, but that's not going to cause bump steer as much as if this pivot point, instead of being here, was back here. It would have a massive amount of bump steer. Or if that pivot point was all the way out here, you'd have a massive amount of bump steer. Right there is what will keep bump steer from happening. All right. Now I guess I need to get the rack under it. I'm trying to make this make sense, guys. Oh hey, check it out. Hang on, let me lift this thing up. I want to show you this. Dave, who's on the videos quite often, look, he bought me a shirt. Ain't that thing cool? And you know, I've never made shirts. Didn't know if they would sell. So if you guys would be interested in shirts or hats, drop me a comment. Let me know. Maybe that's something we'll do. Like and subscribe, guys. Thank you for all the subscribers. We've grown 200 subscribers since June. That is phenomenal. Keep this up. Watch more videos. Watch them longer. That will really help. Comment, like, and comment. That'll really help with the algorithm. All right. Let me get back down here and get all this stuff back off, and get the rack back under there, and we'll start figuring the height on it, get the rack in there at the right height so we can start designing the brackets. All right, well, I took, I'll show you here, got racks all in place, and then I got the angle that I want my shaft coming up. Now I'll put a U-joint here, the shaft come up, and it'll go to a double U-joint here with a bearing and on the frame, and then we'll go up to a U-joint on the steering column up there. The steering column right now that my buddy Anthony, he is doing me a favor and removing the automatic shifter off of it and getting rid of the bushings on the end and actually putting bearings in it, so it'll be won't have so much give in it side to side. All right, so what I did once I got the rack in here is I made a cardboard cutout that fits right there. And a second cardboard cutout that, you know, it sits like this, will be a brace for it. And then I've converted it to steel. Now we got a steel one. I'll probably get up in there. That will have to drill and mount and then weld on here. And it has a brace that's right here. And weld in something like that. That'll brace it so it can't go side to side. So what I got to do right now is I need to pull this rack off. Punch the holes where I'm going to drill this. Drill it and bolt it to it, and then put the rack back under here. I'll clean the frame rail off. I'll clean the frame rail here off good, and over here where the other mount's going to go real good. And then I will stick the rack back under there, get it held in place, and get a nice tack on it. Then we'll remove the rack again, and I'll weld this up good and solid. And then we'll put, I'll weld it decently solid. I don't want to weld it too good, because we're going to put both mounts on, not fully welded. And then we're going to line the front, get a good straight line on the side of the tires. Get it to zero toe. Once we get to zero toe with it all put together, then we will jack it up 2 inches and recheck the toe. Jack it up 2 more inches, recheck the toe, and then jack it up again until it recheck the toe until it gets from ride height all the way to full extension. The only way to go the other way would be to load the suspension. I ain't gonna go to that. If it stays in line from ride height to full extension, the toe stays in, well then we've done our job right. If not, then we'll have to figure out if we need to change tie rod ends or how we need to change something. All right, well, let me get to getting this off and drilling holes and cleaning it up. Well, frame's cleared. This work's going to be welded on. The frame's cleaned up. Now I got to, in the mounts, I got nuts to put on the mounts for the frame. So howdy Captain, guys. I don't know if you guys got dogs. I got 3 of them. And when you watch my videos, you'll hear them bark in the background. You'll hear cars go by in the background. That's just part of it. I live in town. You know, for Cap here, he's the shop dog. His happiest days are in here, but I'm going to be welding, so I can't let him stay in here. Come on, Cap. Cap, go. Great dog. Yeah. All right. So now I have to put it up in here. Now, if you're wondering how I'm going to get find out and figure out my height, it's pretty simple. We know that the center of this tube should be 11 7/8. All right, yeah, 11 7/8. All right, the tube is a 1.5 inch tube, so if you're 3/4 below, you take 3/4 off 11 7/8, makes 1 1/8, or 11 1/8. So we go from the ground to the bottom of the tube, and it's 11, well, not quite there. Ah, that's the problem. That should make it look a little better. All right, 11 1/8. 11 1/8. Make sure it's centered in the center right here. Is that the straight edge? That looks pretty good to me. Last measurement we're going to need will be about there. We're going to see, and it's roughly 2 3/8. This side needs to go back just a smidgen. 2 3/8. So now we're centered. Here, I'll put you guys at the center point. Now we're centered. We're the correct height on both ends. We're the same distance from the cross member out, so it's nice and straight. Everything I'm looking at is telling me it's about time to tack this bracket to the frame. Right here to the frame. Get it tacked in a few spots. Then we'll come over there, figure out the measurement for that one and get it tacked in. And I'll pull it out and then I'll add the brace to it and tack it up. I don't want to. All right, guys. Dave's here.
Yep.
We got the rack in. We pulled the line off the rear tires on each side. Got a measurement. Got the wheels straight with the chassis on both sides. And then we did a toe, we set the toe in. Toe on each side right now is at 0. And we did that because it makes it easier to check how much it changes throughout the stroke. What we're going to do, we're going to start off and we're going to measure it at this. We know right now it's at 0. Well, actually, we don't need to measure it right now. And this thing at the front bumper has about 7.5 inches of suspension travel. So we're going to go up 4 inches first. And we're going to check the toe, see how much it's changed, whether it's towed out, towed in. And then we will
Take it up to full stroke.
take it up to full stroke.
Check it again.
Check it again. And that way we'll see what it's doing. Either I know what I'm talking about or I don't, and you're about to find out. I've been telling you guys this would work. You're about to see. And I expect it to either toe in or toe out through the stroke, because the stock one will toe in and toe out through the stroke. It's just how much. You know, there's a variance of how much you want it to be able to do that. If it doesn't, it does 3/16 of an inch.
Yeah, you should be good.
You should be good. If it does a 1/2 inch,
Yeah, you got an issue.
then you got a 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch, 3/4. You got issues.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what it's going to do. Take her up 4 inches there. Here, I'll help you. Ready?
Yeah.
Now this is part of the long travel suspension we were working on.
2 inches.
Let's go to 4. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the reason I wanted the long travel for the drag truck, so the front end could come up and the wheels still touch the ground. You still be able to steer. All right, you're gonna check this. Now we did mark. I don't know if they can see me, Dave.
Yeah, we've got a mark
Now here.
at 7.5 inches.
on front and back, so on all 4 tires. That way we're measuring at the same height each time. That way we know our measurement is going to be accurate all the way through it. All right, you ready, Dave?
Yes, sir.
My glasses on. Blind guy needs glasses, imagine that. All right. And right here we're at 67 3/4.
3/4. Let's see whether it goes in or out. Come on. All right.
And 67 7/8.
So it went out.
It went out an eighth.
An eighth of an inch. Eighth of an inch you can live with.
Factory settings on a Dodge truck, they say, is a quarter
Quarter toe in.
toe in.
So you're still
At hub height, and we're about half a hub height. So you would be right now, if you were a quarter, you'd be
you're still an eighth in.
yeah.
Which is still
All right.
that's a whole lot better than an eighth out.
Yeah, way better. We'll go up.
So
Even if you set it at an eighth in,
You're gonna be getting close to 22 when you get over there.
even if you set an eighth in, you'd be 0, which 0 is about what a lot of drag racing set there's at.
Alright, watch your tires as you get close. Through, it's right there.
Yeah. Right there. Right there. That's full extension on this truck. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but that's what we want. We want it to be able to get the weight up on the back wheels.
Nope.
67.
Dead nut. Turn my big butt around. Oh.
And when you got it?
Right there.
67.
Corrected itself.
It corrected itself when it gets full extension. That's pretty cool. So it's actually going from right now 0 toe be the 8th toe out back to 0. So I could set the toe on this thing at an 8th, and it'll go from 8th to 0
Back to an eighth.
back to an 8th.
Now it works.
Guys, that works. Yeah, and a lot of this I did all like long travel and the radius bar kits, you know, that I built to sell. You know, and putting this rack in now, like I told you before, I am going to have to get a U-joint for here, a double U-joint for here, and then a U-joint for up on the column, and then run my shaft to here on a bearing, and then on down. This is all about weight for me, guys. Now I want to do, I got that Ram Charger, and if I get it build it, I want to put a 440 in it, and I want to do a power rack and pinion and lower it and see how well we can make this thing handle. As of right now, I have no intentions of selling these kits to put these in. To be honest with you, what it would cost for the rack,
Yeah.
and the tie rods and having the parts made, I don't know what I'd have to charge for the kits. I'd have to figure it out. But that don't mean I won't do it at some point. Like I said,
It's cool that we know it works.
it's great we know it works. And the aluminum plates here, we will be selling them on them too. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.
Heck yeah.
628 today.
Oh, yeah?
628 subscribers. So to me, it blows my mind, guys. All right. Well, thank you again. Good night.